Well, today I'm here at Blasford Hill Fishery. It's a relatively small lake, only 3 or 4 acres. And when approaching venues like this, especially this time of year, which is the end of winter, there's several things I do to ensure I make the most of my time on the bank. Well, this time of year on small lakes like this, the fish can be extremely localised and shoaled up, so it's important to keep active. On venues that aren't too busy, if I can move, I will as much as I can, just until I get a bite. However, if I'm stuck in 1 or 2 swims maybe, then I'll just keep roaming my rods around that particular swim, as the difference in something as small as a rod length can make the difference between catching several fish and blanking. Single hook baits are a super effective method of getting bites as we go out of winter now, this sort of time of year. However, I do like to include the use of small PVA bags sometimes, just sort of golf ball size mesh bag, a little bit of boilie crumb or a few 10mm baits, just for an extra bit of pulling power for the fish to home in on. One thing that is super vital to take into consideration this time of year is the water temperature, and with it being so cold, it's vital that you use a quick melt PVA just so that bag's breaking down for optimal effectiveness. The last thing you want to be doing is using a heavy mesh that's going to be sitting out there for 10-15 minutes before it breaks down and that the fish can't feed on. Apart from the obvious, when you see fish shy or see any fizzers, one of the things I like to do to help locate them is fish for liners. With fishing for liners, what I'm trying to achieve is a sort of semi-tight line. So as the line passes through out to my rig, it's sweeping through the middle layers of the lake, not hugging the bottom so the fish can swim over it, but also not super tight, like bowstring tight, through the middle layers so that I've not got the sensitivity on the bobbin. By having that balance just right, any indications that my line does pick up will always come back to my bobbin and hopefully indicate through the alarm as well, letting me know that there's fish passing through the swim. To ensure I pick up these sensitive indications, I'm using a dumpy bobbin, which I've actually removed the inner brass weight from to make it that a lot more sensitive. With the weight in there, it would probably sink a little bit too low for my liking, pulling the line up out of the water, and also make it a lot harder for the sensitive knocks that you'll pick up from liners to actually indicate back at the bobbin. I fish it with a good 6-inch drop, but not super slack, so that if I do get a drop back, it will still indicate, and obviously I'll be into a fish hopefully. But by having that 6-inch drop, it gives it enough play for the bobbin to go up and down should it need to with a liner, or obviously if the fish wants to take off, then it can do. The final little addition that I use to help with my bite indication is the inclusion of a line clip. This just clips on your rod, which the line passes through nice and gently so it doesn't damage your main line. What that does is increases the line angle down to your bobbin, which in turn increases bite indication. So if I'm unfortunate enough not to have caught, but fortunate enough to have had a few liners, what I'll do is I'll bring my rods in and then recast them a few rod lengths shorter, hoping that I can intercept the fish where they're passing through my line and not be fishing over the top of them. A lot of these smaller venues that maybe used to be match venues or just sort of pleasure angling have a lot of smaller fish such as roach, bream, rudd, things like that. And for this reason I try and avoid baits such as maggot or pellet or sweet corn, anything that's going to draw them smaller fish in, as I purely want to be focusing on the carp. For that reason I aim to use boilies and boilies only. I tend to favour smaller baits. If I can, I'll use 10mm or maybe dumbbells, but at top end really 15mm baits. And the way I apply my bait is actually a little bit different, something you might not see every day. Up and down the country, seagulls are a nightmare. So catapulting 3 baits, they might take 50-60% of them, and only half your baits that you're putting in are actually reaching the lake bed. Spodding, great tactic on bigger lakes, but I find on heavily pressured small venues like this, the fish can easily be spooked and just drift off the zone completely. So the way I like to do it is make small golf ball sized bags, just using PVA mesh, which I can catapult out, and if worst case scenario, seagull does grab one, all that will happen is the bag will break up and disperse the bait in a bit of a wider spread. Well, with the longer days, the water temperature is rising, and for that reason the fish will be a bit more active during the day, and you probably will get more bites during the day. However, the fish are still in the lake and they're still there to be caught even throughout the darkness. So don't zip up your bivvy, keep active and keep fishing. And one thing that I like to do, especially during the night, is fish sigs. I find in the colder months when them fish sit up in the water, just a little bit dormant while it's a bit colder and obviously pitch black, they can often be tempted into taking a zig or two just out of curiosity as they're drifting through the mid layers. Well, although it may seem a bit backwards, putting on zigs as darkness falls and the day draws to a close, it's actually a tactic that I've got great confidence in, and one colour that I put more faith in than any other is black. Don't ask me why, but for some reason it just seems to work better than any others that I've found and gets me them extra fish when normally I'd be zipped up in a bivvy and keeping my head down. During these colder months, I find the most effective place to position my zigs is in the bottom half of the water layers, and then as spring comes a little bit closer and the days are a little bit longer with a bit more sunlight on the water to help raise them temperatures, I lengthen them a little bit more, and anywhere up to within inches of the surface can produce fish. So although it may be a bit cold and miserable, don't zip yourself into your bivvy for the whole night. Get out there, keep working and give zigs a go. With fishing these smaller, more mature venues, a lot of them are often tree lined, which in turn means they're a lot more silty than sometimes bigger, more windswept pits. One thing that is vital when fishing like I am on this particular session, where I'm casting about regularly trying to find the fish, is that I present my baits perfectly every single time. Bearing this in mind, my favourite lead system to use with fishing on the bottom is a helicopter setup. I'll position the bead a good 3 or 4 inches above my lead setup, and this enables the quick change O-ring to slide up the main line, hit the bead, giving the lead a chance to plummet into the silt, allowing the rig just to flutter down and settle on top, presenting perfectly every time. My preferred way of fishing helicopter style at the minute is incorporating the heli drop-off bead. So if I'm fishing a venue where I need to drop the lead or maybe it's a little bit snaggy, then I've got that option. I find it a great way of fishing with either a tube in above your line or even if you're using lead core, but at the minute my preferred way is naked. A lot of venues these days incorporate leader bands. So the guys at Fox have included a small insert which slides up the bead from the lead end up your main line, and then as the quick change O-ring slides down when you're playing a fish, it just helps protect the bead, protect your main line and ensure you get the fish in the net safely. Well, after a quiet night, and I have to admit I was trying fairly hard, I spotted a fish in a different area of the lake. So we had a slight change in scenery, and after several more casts, I've managed to get a bite. It's scrapping fairly hard, so it'd be nice if it's a decent fish. Just goes to show that plugging away, using your eyes, and finding a fish, you can always get a bite or two. Lovely job. Took long enough, but we got there in the end. Caught in a tree. Got a fish in the net, that's the main thing. Well, there we go. The change of swims has paid off. I've managed to bag one. I've changed swims, found a new area of the lake. Seen a few fish here, even had a few liners, and that just confirmed to me that they were definitely here and on the move. And then minutes later, I had a drop back and I've been rewarded with this lovely Blasford Hill common. So there we go, after sitting in a peg for almost 24 hours with nothing. Not to say I wasn't working at it, because I tried numerous tactics. I searched out the whole peg, just nothing there. I've upped sticks, I've moved, I've found a few fish and I've managed to get one in the net. So that just goes to show that the tactics I've been speaking about do work if you get them right and if you're persistent with them.